The reason we don't have money. And I have to use money in the title because that seems to be the thing that will attract the most attention because we will pay attention when money is mentioned. But the reason we don't have money now is really kind of my fault. Well, it's all of us because money is energy. And we will attract it when we remember who we are and remember our worth and value. That's all that it is. But then we have to understand that we don't always accept that because we've been programmed to believe something different, as I was. And so that's why it was my fault, because I could have done more. I could have given more to others. And so I'm looking at everything that's occurring now, and especially in the United States, because that's where the epicenter is. And I had to go back and talk about this because it's my birthday today, so everybody will be really forgiving because I need to be forgiving to myself. I started doing Wilhelm in 1989. I wasn't going to tell people. You can read the document. You can see that it's there. It took me through everything. It took me through healing, through kinds of crazy things that no one could understand, and I kept hiding it. I kept thinking, no, this isn't real. I'm not going to tell people. This doesn't make sense. Then in 2020, I knew the world was changing, and I knew we were going to be moving through a big change. And it was going to be difficult for so many of us, emotionally and mentally, spiritually and financially, because all that was given to me. Then in 2021, I was told now I had to go further. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm sitting on the side of my bed, and Wilhelm is saying to me, you have to start talking. We have too much to say. Your world is going to be moving through some changes, and we have to start talking about it. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I sat there for the longest time. I said, I'm not going to talk about it. And I finally agreed. And then they said, and this is where we want you to begin. We want you to begin with this message. They had given me this message in 2017. I couldn't understand. Why am I going back there? Why am I going to talk about that now? And why are you forcing me to talk about it, anything? Because I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be exposed. I've been really clever at hiding for all these years. How could you make me do this? And then I discovered something else. But first I'm going to read the message to you because this is what will help you and all of us understand what's occurring in our world currently. Because they're energetic changes and we just happen to be moving through one, but we may not have had the understanding, and Wilhelm gave us that, and I published it today, which is the Wilhelm philosophy that you will read. But first of all, I want to explain it because I resisted myself. We all do. The only reason we suffer in any way is because we don't take the steps to own what we were given, our authentic selves. But that's an internal journey. It's going to be different for each of us, but it's always meaningful. And it never matters when it shows up because it's just showing up for me now because you become courageous. You start to own yourself and you work through all the generational programming because we all have it. It just depends on whether or not we're going to move through it. And sometimes that's challenging, depending on how long that programming has been there. And in the United States, it's been really a long time. This was the message, and I'll read it to you so you'll understand, because you will get, every single person will get something from this, because we all as humans operate the same way. Money, love, control, and power are intricately woven together in your life, so much so that you have difficulty recognizing the distinctions. This very issue is the cause of many difficulties you and others experience. It will take some time for you to decipher all of this, but this is a good place to begin. You begin to associate money with love, power, and control because that is how you grew up. If your parents or those in charge gave you something of value or money, you associated that with being loved. But you also associated this with your parents holding all the control and power. You then begin to usurp those characteristics and begin using them in your own life. You will think that if you give another enough money, you will feel loved and experience your own power as well as control over others. This is never what you are truly seeking. As you can see, this is just the beginning. Ponder this for a bit. Now, I didn't know why they were having me read that or do it, and I started. And then I saw it. I saw it happening, and I saw it happening in our world, and I saw it especially in the United States. We will believe that if someone gives us the money, if they promise us all that, then our lives are going to change, and we don't have to do anything. And that's exactly what happened in our world, especially in the United States, and especially in the election that we had. And then there was the channeling session that Wilhelm did last year on November 1st that talked about all of that and explained why it was happening. They're energetic changes that we move through, and they're generational. And because we have been taught to not value ourselves, then we won't allow the energy of money to come to us. And so then I discovered that I've created, no one could understand this either, because how did I create the most magnificent thing to come into the world? Because it could change humanity, but I couldn't put a value on it, because I was still operating with that old paradigm. I was still operating with that old programming. I couldn't possibly have done something that could command this much money. Even though people told me over the years, you should be charging so much more for this. I couldn't see it. You couldn't see it either. See, that's what happens. We grow in our consciousness, and that takes time. But then we also have to be willing to accept it. And sometimes that will take time, but it's also perfect because you have a plan and it's unfolding now. I can say that because whoever would see this, you would recognize that information no matter where you are. But now you have something that you can read, because I put together the Wilhelm philosophy so we could understand exactly what was happening and why we don't have money and why the United States is currently in a shutdown. It's all energetic, and we were told all of that information. It's just we weren't paying attention. I wasn't. We all weren't. But now we can. Enjoy your day.